A yell and plunge coalesce into the shattering of armor. As a mule rejoices, Sunraiku picks up another idol. Side note, Sword Denier. Idol strongly attracts the attention of certain monsters. The more you turn away from the idol, the more curious you become about it. Sunraiku remarks that it better not be goblins or orcs that it attracts. Sunraiku raises the decapitator high, praising the weapon. Virak responds to the comments by saying of course she reforged it. Side note, Sunraiku's job is mercenary twin swords, so while he can learn twin blade and dagger skills easily, longsword skills are tougher. Virak asks what's up next. She continues that they wiped out all the golems, but are they really going to find the forge nearby? Sunraiku rebuttals that he can't make any promises, but it's more natural for this forge to be less of a weapon forge and more of a manufacturing plant. Sunraiku begins to theorize that since the golems were present here, they must have been guarding the facility. As he wanders around, Sunraiku peers and leers through rubble until he comes to it. As he moves destructed columns, he questions that if you want to protect something from outside enemies, where do you build it? The group is shocked to see upon his removal of debris, a large shaft is uncovered. Sunraiku answers his own question with a smug grin. Underground. As they all peer into the shaft, Sunraiku kicks a mechanical component down the opening. As it hits the sides of the wall, the team ascertains that the hole is indeed as deep as it looks. Sunraiku doubts aloud that there's a cushion at the bottom. Kazio interjects and says he has a rope. Oh great, Sunraiku replies. In that case, he looks back with a stark realization on his face. Pencil and Kazio in unison both say they gotta help each other out in a pinch. Side note, Sunraiku has broken out into a sprint. This mad dash is interrupted by Kazio's whips wrapping itself around his neck. Kazio and Pencil berate Sunraiku for ignoring them. Sunraiku asks how they found him. Pencil menacingly says he shoved all that crystal scorpion stuff into the inventoria. They'll talk about that later. But that monster only spawns in the crystal cliffs. Kazio chimes in saying that knowing that, they figured he already went ahead. So they came to the road of past glories. Side note, Sunraiku eternally curses the fact they share the inventoria. Virak questions who these people are. A mule illuminates that they are Sunraiku's friends. Kazio says he's curious about this black rabbit and cat. Before Arames has the chance to be long-winded, Virak cuts him off. Sunraiku introduces the two separate groups. Side note, Kazio is enraged that Sunraiku has found even more uniques while he still hasn't found one. Sunraiku asks if they can table all the side discussions for later, as he really does need their help. He fills them in on how he needs to find a magic application unit so he can repair the reactor. He theorizes the unit is at the bottom of the shaft. He suggests Kazio bungee jumps down. Pencil agrees with the proposition. Kazio agrees and begins descending downward. The group waits as suddenly Kazio shouts back up. I'm at the bottom. It's this futuristic underground cavern, he says. The entrance is clear of monsters. Sunraiku and a mule are next to descend. As Kazio meanders around, he remarks that while the complex looks like ruins on the outside, the inside still seems alive. Info note, the interior is bright and spotless. Kazio steps forward. He triggers a floor trap. Sunraiku shouts, "What did you do?" Kazio replies that security must still be online. With a pop and a chunk, an enemy descends. A futuristic four-armed mech unit stands poised for action. Pencil says it reminds her of Wiseman. Sunraiku says it better not be a locked-in combat for half an hour thing. Virak asks if everyone is good. Arames is the first to reply. Fret not, my dark lover. No, for no one can survive my blade. As light and wind swirls, Savant Solo Primal Slash flies through the corridor. However, this is no common mob. As a mechanical hand is raised, an aura akin to a light is projected. As the Solo Slash lands, Arames is shocked. The damage is null. Virak comments that the other golems don't hold a candle to this one. Sunraiku adds that the golems up top weren't the guards, but this one. Side note, Pencil materializes her weapon. She scoffs saying this is no big deal. They are a trio that beat the Colossus. Kazio adds this is the first time Wolfgang has ever teamed up. Vorpal blades are raised as Wolfgang readies its attack. Lake Mirror Moon version 3 is levied at the mob. As puddles splash behind the mob, his aggro shifts in turn. Kazio and Sunraiku use their opportunity to close the gap. Sunraiku takes the aerial path, scaling the walls while Kazio pincers from the side. The robot is undeterred. Its large back hands glow and lasers are ejected outward towards Sunraiku. As this attack ensues, both Virak and Kazio are in range. Simultaneous attacks are launched and subsequently blocked. Kazio complements the robot's shield. The robot is able to defend and attack at the same time, making sure Sunraiku cannot pass through the adjacent door. While all arms are occupied by the three, the other two make their move. The words Savant Solo and Add Spell ring through the hallway. The two attacks in combination illuminate the hall. They land directly on the chest plate, cracking it in the process. Now for the barrage, Pencil shouts as a massive ornate spear is ready. Info note, the skill All or Nothing is used by Pencil. As the other arms are occupied, this attack shatters and pierces the chest of the unit. As the mob falls, Sunraiku comments that that usually the unit would be a decently tough foe, but unfortunately, in Wolfgang, there's nothing but attack. DPS skill after DPS skill is fired off on the fallen unit. Pencil says she can't believe that they won with that bull rush attack. Usually a party of all attackers is disadvantaged. As Pencil reclaims her spear, she says that attack didn't even put a scratch on it. Sunraiku asks if that is the main weapon she was talking about. Sure is, Pencil says. It's the holy spirit called Fletwich, one of SLF's hero weapons. There's only 5 in the whole game. As she rubs and loves on the spear, she says that owning one unlocks the hero job for you. Sunraiku remarks that if Pencil is a hero, Shanfuro is doomed. As Pencil and Sunraiku talk, Kazuo exclaims he blew it again. Pencil asks if he's still having trouble with the door. Kazuo explains that the skill is at level 1, so it doesn't work too often. Info note: Treasure Hunter skill, Ruin Sense, is used by Kazuo. This skill assesses ruins and analyzes their construction. Side note: again the skill fails. As they wait, Sunraiku and Pencil chat. Sunraiku remarks that he hoped that the guard unit would drop a keycard. Pencil remarks it's time for the random number generator challenge. Sunraiku and Pencil reminisce about his bad luck with RNG. Sunraiku's trauma turns to anger as he shouts for Kazuo to hurry up. Side note: Kazuo's skill finally works as the door moves open. As the door opens, Kazuo tries to rub his ability in Sunraiku's face to no avail. As they enter the room, jaws drop. Info note: the laboratory is pristine and untouched. The room is filled with Divinity Age era equipment. Pencil's face beams as she says she can smell the rare items in the room. With an outstretched arm, Sunraiku instructs everyone to split up and ransack the place. The magic application unit has to be in here somewhere. As they inspect the room, Sunraiku comes across something suspicious. It's some kind of holographic monster. Sunraiku theorizes that the monster is one of the invaders the people from the Divinity era fought. Pencil and Kazuo are having no luck and comment that this is like finding a needle in a haystack. Kazuo comments, do they even know what it looks like? At that moment, Amule calls out to Sunraiku with a strange device on top of her head. She says this thing looks pretty cool, huh? Amule explains she found it stuck under a desk. Sunraiku tells her to toss it somewhere. As Virak begins to explain what the magic application unit looks like, her eyes lock onto Amule. That's it. The thing on Amule's head is it. As she grabs it and lifts it high, she announces they found it. Sunraiku becomes filled with excitement, grabbing Amule and calling her brilliant. As the joy dies down, Sunraiku says there's no time to waste. They need to get back to Lagonia as quickly as 2 hands touch his shoulders. If you think you can bluster your way out of here, Sunraiku, think again, Pencil eerily says. Don't tell us you forgot about our messages, huh? Kazuo sneers. Someone wants to meet me, Sunraiku questions. Yeah, Kazuo answers. Since Wiseman, when your relation to us got aired out in public, we've had a lot of crap to deal with. Kazuo explains how everyone pesters them non-stop now. Pencil adds that the head of Schweizerwolf and even the attack holder herself came to negotiate with her. Sunraiku asks if anyone from the library has approached them. Pencil yells if Sunraiku sold them out to that old freak. How dare you, she continues. I hate him. He just badgers me with questions. Sunraiku quickly remarks he just wants to enjoy the game. Side note: Sunraiku is preoccupied with the magic application unit. Kazuo asks if Virak needs Sunraiku to accompany her. Virak says she doesn't and can split with the unit anytime. Pencil and Kazuo agree. Virak will take the unit and they'll head back to town. We move back to town and Pencil questions if Sunraiku always dresses like that in town. Side note: Sunraiku has donned his Beastman garb. He explains that this is the best way to hide these guys, and it counts as headgear, so my marking doesn't affect it at all. Kazuo remarks he thought going around half naked was his thing. Sunraiku responds by shouting no, it's not. He wants to try lots of gear too. Why is he cursed to playing this sandbox game so tied down? Virak shouts from under the guard for him to hurry up and get to the alley. The scene continues in front of the door to Rabbit Country. Virak asks one last time if she's okay to take the magic application unit. Sunraiku says she's good to go and he can't wait to meet Virak, the ancient craftsman. Aramaze attempts to monologue but is dragged away by Virak. As the door dissipates, Sunraiku tells Amule he would have preferred if she went back to Lagonia too. Sunraiku explains it's because he has no idea what Pencil and Kazuo have planned for him. Pencil cheerfully tells Amule they have a role for her as well, so please stick around. A role, the duo questions? As we peer down the alley, ominous figures can be seen in the distance. Beast-like figures taken over by uncontrollable desires approach. I found you. Sunraiku and Amule are immobilized by fear. This visage, he remembers it. What was her name? Amelia from SF Zoo. The zoo members pounce towards Amule and Sunraiku. The duo make a dash but are stopped in their tracks by Pencil and Kazuo. Guys, he says, then a realization. No, you sold me out, you bastards. As the mob closes in, Pencil and Kazuo state that now everyone's even. Sunraiku thinks fast. He won't be able to deal with the mob, so he must do something. Eureka! And thusly, Amule is thrown to the zoos. As she floats through the air, a single ah can be heard. Hugs, grabs, and squeezes assail Amule. Sunraiku, how dare you betray me, can be heard from the consumed bunny. The others are put off by the carnage of the zoo mob. The hilarity is interrupted by Sunraiku getting serious. As he looks back, he asks who called for these guys. An unprecedented beauty speaks. So, What's with all the urgency, Pencil gone? Side note, it's the Saiga sisters. Pencil cheerfully greets Saiga 100 as Momo. Side note, Saiga 0 is quiet and still. Saiga 100 is cheerful and warm as she speaks to Sunraiku. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, she says to Sunraiku. She introduces herself as Saiga 100, the leader of Schweizerwolf. She then introduces her sister, Saiga 0. Saiga bows and Sunraiku greets her. Pencil cuts through the introduction by commenting on Momo's breast size. Momo covers herself and tells her to stop saying that every time. Sunraiku wonders if she knows the clan leader in real life. At that moment, the professor appears. The little girl avatar states he never thought they would have contacted him from their end. Sunraiku asks Pencilgon what did she do. She ignores him and says she reserved a room at the Crystal City in the Snake's Apple. The scene moves to the Snake's Apple. The combination of Schweizerwolf, Zoo, library, and Wolfgang members sit at the table. Sunraiku is amused, stating it's just a tribunal to sit and ask him questions. Pencil rebuttals that, well, Schweizerwolf and SF Zoo requests are about stuff only he has the answers to. She finishes with, you don't want them following you forever, do you? No, Sunraiku answers. And with that, Pencil claps her hands and announces the start of the meeting. As the meeting commences, Pencil says with all these big names in one place, they should make good use of this time. With a quick right, Momo states she will get to the point. What Schweizerwolf wants is useful information leading us to the unique monster, the Night Slayer. In exchange for this, we'll offer a way to remove the marking, she says as she looks at Sunraiku. The point is reiterated. Schweizerwolf wants the Night Slayer. In exchange for this info, they offer a way for Sunraiku to remove his marking. Sunraiku questions if they really can do that. Momo says that the method itself is fairly well known, but work with us and it'll be 100 times easier than doing it from scratch. Side note. Sunraiku thinks that he can finally be free of this curse, equip whatever he wants. Momo adds that ultimately Schweizerwolf's final goal is to defeat the Night Emperor. However, she regrets to inform them that they have yet to seriously take on any unique monsters. Even when they have the luck to run into the Night Emperor, they get destroyed without learning anything useful. As Sunraiku glances around, he thinks about how much he should tell them. There's no way he'll discuss Lagonia or the palace or Visice. If the SF Zoo clan finds out about it, he'll never have another chill moment. Side note, Sunraiku thinks he must always watch out for Pencil and Casio, as they already know about Virak and Arames. He thinks that goes double for Pencil. She's like a bloodhound with any info. Sunraiku decides to speak about Wiseman and the Night Emperor. He'll use that as cover to avoid saying anything about Lagonia. Sunraiku starts, I think that unique monsters can be beaten strictly by fighting them. To take on Wiseman, that unique that we beat, you have to finish a special EX unique scenario first. Pencil chimes in, right, unique monsters from the core of those exact scenarios. And since you encounter the Night Emperor at random, that's not the problem with him. Chances are, you need to flip some other scenario flags before beating him becomes a possibility. Momo rebuttals, and those flags are likely hidden in the new region unlocked with the update. Pencil responds, well, I can't say for sure, but if there are unripe flags around, I think they'll be connected to those two uniques yet to be found. The professor finally speaks, oh, by the way, Saiga 100, I hope my wife isn't bothering you about the new region. Momo asks if he means massive dynamite. She goes on to say, yeah, she's super excited. She must have been really looking forward to the new lands. Side note, Sunraiku wonders about what kind of relationship he has with his wife. The professor pulls up screens and begins to inform the group on the 7 unique monsters. 1. The Night Emperor, a black wolf encountered randomly. I've had word that she's actually female. 2. Sinitrid of the Abyss, an octopus-type monster that appears in oceans. No player has seen it in person. However, all our info comes from half-crazed NPCs. Siegeworm, the Sky Ruler, a golden dragon encountered randomly as with the Night Emperor. We have lots of eyewitness info, but it flies too high to touch. It's fightable in the Magnanimous Sanctuary area, where it constantly seeks heroes to challenge it. 4th, the Orchestra of the Doom Echo, discovered by who raided the Royal Library of Anver, the kingdom rolling over this entire new region. It controls tsunamis, is clad in fire, and controls lightning, but outside of its name, nothing else is known. The 5th is Wiseman the Tomb Guard, which your party just defeated. Side note, Casio attempts to leave, but is held in place by Sunraiku. The professor admits that while they've done a lot of research, they don't have much non-public info. Pencil rhetorically says, you don't, huh? She goes into her inventory and pulls out the Tome of the Truth, Tomb Guard edition. As she opens and closes the book, she says it's filled with valuable Wiseman info. The professor salivates. Pencil feigns sincerity. It's an insanely rare item, one I normally never let go of, but if someone's like you who knows how very precious this book is, I might give it to you for the right consideration. What do you think? The professor agrees and says he'll pay whatever she wants. Sunraiku and Casio think to themselves that Pencil is fleecing the professor. Momo cuts through the bartering and says that everyone is aching for info. As she looks at Sunraiku, she states that he is the only person with real info on the Night Emperor. Sunraiku says he doesn't know a whole lot himself. Momo replies with, "That's fine. Even basic behavior patterns will be great." Sunraku remarks if that's the case, then first, her physical attack. There are a few tails, and they come way faster than most bosses, but you can parry them. Her swipes come in 3 patterns: diagonal, vertical, and horizontal. She uses a lot of delays, of course, but there are more safe zones than I thought. I'll go into details later. But her body attacks are a headache. She didn't use them on me, but they have the destroy attribute, or maybe all her physical attacks do. One bite will rip you apart, so Momo interjects, "Wait a minute. I was led to believe that you met the Night Emperor just one time, but you analyze her to that level in your first fight? Someone with as much force as the Night Emperor?" Kazuo states he's a freak. Pencil agrees. Momo apologizes for the interruption and tells Sunraku to keep going. Sunraku says that to tell the truth, there was one thing that not even he understood much. When he encountered the Night Emperor, he was fighting a group of red-capped goblins. In the middle of the battle, she just showed up out of nowhere with a total sudden attack. That's how I first met the Night Slayer. The Night Slayer mowed down the red cap, but she came from in front of me, not behind. And yeah, she surprised me, but despite being as big as she is, I didn't even notice she was nearby until the shockwave from the attack hit me. Sunraku questions if what he's saying is even possible. Kazuo remarks how it's unlike him and more of a casual player move. Sunraku asks if monsters can suddenly appear out of nowhere in the game. Momo responds, no, it's not set up that way. Sunraku's inner monologue begins to run. I'll bet this isn't some crap game with all the detail in this world. They wouldn't employ a unique in such a random way. Momo asks if he thinks it's some kind of ability on the Night Emperor's part. Sunraku's reply consists of him admitting he doesn't have enough info, and if he could just fight her again, maybe he could grasp more. Side note, Momo thinks she likes this guy. Sunraku, pencil gone, oi Kazuo. The name of your clan was the Wolf Gang, right? What do you think, Momo asks. Want to form an alliance with us? Momo is quickly interrupted by the SF Zoo shaman. Hold on, Schweizerwolf. Can you do that on your own time? That wasn't part of the original question, was it? She asked. Momo agrees no. True, and I got someone I'd need to talk to about it first. Sunraku wonders what's happened. The shaman says it's my turn. She states that FF Zoo has one request. They want to hear about Lagonia, the land of the Vorpal bunnies. Side note, the shaman becomes an insatiable zombie again. By the name of SF Zoo, I'm gonna squeeze all I can from you. You got that, Sunraku, she asks. Sunraku curses his luck. He should have known Animelia would spring something like this on him. Animelia demands that Sunraku tells her about Rabbit Country. However, the thing she states she wants the most is a free pass to Rabbit Country. A free pass, Sunraku questions? It's well known that you can use the Tour of Lagonia unique scenario to go there. Info note. Once you beat the Lagonian Viper boss attacking the land, you're forced out of Lagonia right then and there, and you're never allowed to come back. Animelia points at Sunraku. But look at you, Sunraku. Not only did you bring a talking Vorpal bunny out of that land, you're supposedly going in and out of Lagonia all the time. She finishes with, how do you do it? I've got to know. And SF Zoo will offer you anything we can in return. Sunraku thinks to himself, oh, here I was thinking that she's going to ask me how to unlock the unique scenario that lets you befriend a mule. Maybe I can make something out of this after all. Sunraku agrees with himself that he will not be telling her about the invitation to Lagonia quest. Sunraku speaks up and says it'd be quicker to ask a mule that. So if you don't mind giving her back real quick, Animelia relents and hands over a mule. As he shakes the drained and unresponsive mule, he entices her to awaken with unlimited Lagonian parfait. A mule pops up scrambling around for the delectable treats, but quickly comes back to her senses. She says that the only thing she remembers is how Sunraku promises to buy her some special Lagonian parfaits along with this spellbook she's been eyeing. Sunraku tells her not to pat it. Sunraku then asks a mule a question. He starts with, it's about Lagonia. He says they sometimes invite players to beat up snakes, so it's not that humans are banned entirely from there, right? A mule states she doesn't think so. Sunraku inquires if there's a way for people to get back to Lagonia once they've left. A mule again replies that she doesn't have the answer for that. However, in a cheerful manner, she states her big brother, A-Word. She informs them he's a real brainy, creative guy. Side note, Sunraku is unenthusiastic at the proposition of meeting a new rabbit. A mule continues the inundation of information. He's my oldest brother and his job is king of Lagonia. King, Sunraku questions? Sunraku assumes that Vash must have abdicated the throne and left it to his son. Sunraku asks a mule if there's any way they could ask him. A mule says of course and leaps up off the table. As she leaves the room, she tells everyone she'll go over and get an in-depth answer with her brother. A mule wait, shouts Animelia. Side note, Animelia wanted one last pet. Sunraku asks Animelia if they can table the topics until she returns. Begrudgingly, she agrees. The professor apprehensively agrees to pay the price. Pencil smiles and hands over the Tome of Truth. Sunraku asks how much Pencil fleeced him for. Side note, 100 million mani. Kazuo says that was nasty. She says that amount was only 20% of her debt. With that business squared away, Pencil states she has something to offer too. Schweizerwolf, the library, SF Zoo, and us in Wolfgang. I'd like all of us to form a clan alliance, she proclaims. Everyone in the room is taken aback. Momo thinks to herself, ah, I see. That was her aim from the start. Animelia says it's fine by her, but it's still SF Zoo's turn to talk. The professor also agrees. Momo continues her inner monologue, stating she'll play along with this aloud. Momo says no problem, and she'd even want to invite Pencil. With all in agreement, the pact will be forged. Info note, the meeting is over and Wolfgang are the only players left in the Snake's Apple. Casio with a breath of relief states it's finally over. After some banter between himself and Pencil, Casio asks if Sunraiku gave up his info too easily. Sunraiku remarks that it was just battle patterns. He would have given that away for free. Casio's face gets serious. As a pro gamer, you shouldn't. We're not in the 2D monitor era anymore. In full dive games, knowing your opponent's moves takes on way more meaning than you think, especially with a unique monster. They're not like bosses, the kind every player sees. That info's priceless. We're not talking about status ailments and other stuff. Sunraiku concedes that maybe Casio is right. Pencil says Schweizer Wolf in the library shouldn't be too hard to deal with, but goes on to say that SF Zoo are nothing but locusts. They treat NPCs and monsters as the same thing. If they get a permanent visa into Lagonia, who knows what'll happen. Sunraiku thinks it'd be a mad spree of petting. Pencil becomes cold and says she's hiding some kind of unique scenario, but she won't pry into it. Her stern eyes meet his. Just don't do something stupid and let it fall into anyone else's hands, okay? Sunraiku says that's his intention. As the conversation lulls, Pencil states she reached her original goal anyway. Casio asks if it was the clan alliance. With a wide smile, she proclaims yes. Now she can use and access the equipment retained by the other alliance members. Sunraiku says he didn't expect every one of them to say yes. Pencil states it's more of a give us a little info and we'll help you out a little. But it won't be that easy for them to get info out of Wolfgang. Pencil explains they're holding 5 ace cards, one being the first group to beat an EX unique scenario, and they have info on Bahamut. 2, they have access to the Inventoria and the assorted legacy weapons in there. 3, we have de facto exclusive access to the Ancient Craftsman's job, one that's possessed only by VRAC so far. 4, Sunraiku has a lot of intel on getting into Lagonia, along with the existence of the cat sits and stuff like that. And 5, we have an inside line on accessing the next EX unique scenario. With an outstretched hand, she states just with those cards, they carry power. Information can control and kill people. We are a new clan, only 3 people, but we got die-hard, game-leading clans serving us. We'll stay one step ahead. Side note, Pencil's true face is shown with her final statement. Don't you think that's about the funnest thing ever? Side note, Sunraiku and Casio's expressions show that they've accepted the way their friend is. Pencil says she resorted to the stick too much in Unite round. She's going to use the carrot more in this game. Casio asks if they're going to be villains hunted down by the masses. Sunraiku interjects. If so, he'll sell them out and flee to Lagonia. We move to a new scene, the streets of 8-Dole. Wolfgang decides to split up. Sunraiku quickly rushes them away. He wonders why a mule isn't back yet, as he wants to see how VRAC is doing. He thinks without a mule, the only way to get back is for him to die. Info note, Sunraiku decides to fight the Crystal Scorpions until he dies. Info note, real-time update applied. The large computer we have grown accustomed to seeing is displayed. The screen displays multiple patches. The one we zoom in on is fixed behavior patterns in some monsters. Our chapter begins at the Crystal Cliff's nest. Sunraiku is being chased by a horde of crystal scorpions. With a smirk and a smile, Sunraiku states aloud he's going to farm them as much as he can before he death warps to Lagonia. Sunraiku's hand grips the crystal foundation. Scorpions again crash and thrash towards him. As he lifts his hand, intertravel is activated. Sunraiku is whisked away to the Inventoria. He dances and celebrates as he believes, as in his first adventure, the scorpions are destroying each other. After some time elapses, exit travel is activated and Sunraiku is whisked back to the Crystal Cliffs. While the terrain is destroyed, no parts are littered about. As he looks around, he notes he had timed the warp perfectly. He wonders if maybe they stopped fighting, but notes that the AI wasn't that smart before. As he walks, a rumbling occurs. Info note, Sunraiku is jettisoned into the air. Info note, his HP is 0 out of 30. The Crystal Scorpions have ambushed Sunraiku. As he falls and digitizes, he curses the admin. As the Crystal Scorpions eviscerate his body, he admonishes the game for its silent updates. Sunraiku's body appears pixel by pixel inside of Lagonian Inn. With his eyes darkened by depression, he hits the OK for logout button. Within the real world, Hitsutome removes the full dive VR device. With clenched teeth, the words "you gotta be kidding me" pass through. As he checks the Shanfuro site, he sees the fixed behavior patterns update. He laments the fact that now his top tier farming strategy won't work. He decides to come up with a new plan. As he contemplates aloud, he knocks his Kaiser energy drink off the table. Before it can hit the ground, however, he catches it. Just then an epiphany hits him. Gravity, that's it. The game's physics engine, pair that up with the AI, and as he finishes formulating the plan, he thinks he still needs something. Something his character can use, some kind of new breakthrough. As he scrolls, he sees it. The new Moon Jumper evolved skill Skywalker. He comments with this skill, he could beat them. He just has to trial and error it with the Crystal Scorpion's AI patterns and it'll be perfect. Sunraiku provokes the ire of the admins by saying that some dumb update won't stop him. As he laughs maniacally, he says he'll exploit even more glitches for them to fix. We quickly move to Lagonia. A mule walks in asking if Sunraiku is back. As Sunraiku sits on the bed, he asks a mule how the talk with the king go. A mule states Award will need a little more time to think about it. She mentions that VRAC also asked them to come to the forge. Without a moment to waste, Sunraiku grabs a mule and darts towards the smithing area. As they move through the castle, Sunraiku tells Emil about the crystal scorpions. Virak has the application unit atop her head and asks Sunraiku to whip out a legacy weapon. Sunraiku questions why the application unit is on her head. Virak explains that the unit allows her to examine legacy weapons and study forging skills from the time of divinity. Sunraiku materializes the non-standard converging weapon, Comet Catapult. He asks if that one will work. Virak is stunned and tells them to come back tomorrow morning. Sunraiku tells her to do whatever she needs to do in order to become an ancient craftsman. As Virak takes off the unit, she asks Sunraiku if he can do her a favor. She says if she becomes one of those ancient craftsmen that's able to craft legacy weapons. Sunraiku interrupts and reiterates that she'll be able to make the weapons. Side note, Sunraiku only thought she'd be able to repair weapons. Virak overenthusiastically explains that she's going to use the crystal scorpion parts to make brand new legacy weapons. Virak frantically explains how she knows the scorpion parts are hard to come by, but she'll be able to craft amazing weapons with them. Her blacksmith soul tells her with the crystal parts she can make her finest masterpiece with them. Sunraiku assures her that whenever you take on something new, it's always going to be trial and error. Sunraiku begins materializing the scorpion parts for her. Virak is beyond excited and asks if a set of new twin blades is fine. Sunraiku thinks he already has 3 sets and tells her to wait up. As we pan to the dark sky of 8 Dolt, Sunraiku says he wants to broaden his range in battle. How about they go for a different type? As the view focuses downward, we enter the spellbook shop. Emil is elated as Sunraiku has bought her a new spellbook. He says he only bought it because he needs more magic assist. As he raises his fist, he says it's time to prepare for battle against the Crystal Scorpions. With a disruptive shout, Sunraiku says first they'll level up a bunch by slaying zombies. With a stern look and sound resolve, he tells Virak don't worry and sit tight. They'll gather all the materials that she could ever use.